Hello, in this video I'll be talking about probability. First we're going to start with theoretical probability. So the probability of an event is equal to the number of favorable outcomes divided by the total number of possible outcomes. And an outcome is the result of an action. For instance, flipping a coin, the outcome would be heads or the outcome would be tails. An event is a collection of possible outcomes. So for instance, the probability that you get an odd number when you roll a six-sided die, so the event there is an odd number. So a 1 would be an outcome that would be favorable, a 3 would be odd, a 5 would be odd. And probability can be expressed as a fraction, a decimal, or a percent, which is all the ways that fractions can be expressed. Right? You can leave it as a fraction, you can divide them to get a decimal, or you could make that decimal a percent. So let's say we have this event here. We're going to roll a six-sided die, and so if we want to know the probability of something happening, so the probability of a 1 is how you say what's the probability of rolling a 1. And you'd say the number of favorable outcomes. Well, in this case, there's just one favorable outcome, and that is a 1. Actually, let me change this. I'm going to make that a 2 because that'll make it a little more obvious what's going on. So the probability of rolling a 2, so the number of favorable outcomes, well, there's only one. So a 2 would be a favorable outcome. So the number of favorable outcomes is 1. And the number of possible outcomes, well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides on a six-sided die. So the probability of rolling a 2 is 1 out of 6. Pretty simple. Okay. Notice the theoretical probability only works when the outcomes are all equally likely. Okay. So, for instance, if you were flipping a cup, one of those like red Solo cups, for instance, kind of like this. In this case, a blue cup. It could land on its side, or it could land on the bottom, or it could land on the top. Those are not equally likely outcomes because their surfaces are different sizes and whatnot. So you could not use theoretical probability for that. All right. Now, all probability falls within the numbers 0 through 1. So, for instance, you can never have a probability of less than 0, right? The probability of rolling a 7 is the worst probability it could get because there is no 7. So there's 0 favorable outcomes over 6 possible outcomes. So the probability of rolling a 7 on a six-sided die is 0. It can't get worse than that. And the probability of rolling a number 1 through 6 inclusive, 1 through 6 inclusive, meaning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, is equal to 6 over 6 because the number of favorable outcomes is 6. There's a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, and a 6, which is also the same as the possible outcomes. So it can never be greater than 1. Notice 6 divided by 6 is 1. Okay. Anything in this area you would consider to be more likely. Think of that as 50% or more of the time. And less than 50% of the time would be less likely. Okay. The complement of an event is the collection of outcomes not contained in the event. So, for instance, if we're talking about the probability of rolling a 3 would be 1 out of 6, the complement would be probability of not 3, which is a 5 out of 6, right? Because that could be a 1, a 2, a 4, a 5, or a 6. The complement added to the original event is always going to be equal to 1, right? So the probability of 3 is 1/6. So the probability of an event happening plus the probability of the event not happening is always equal to 1. Notice 1/6 plus 5/6 is equal to 1. So let's try one more example here, and I'll use the die rolling again. So let's say we're rolling a 6-sided die and we want to know the probability of getting an odd number. And so again, the numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The probability of an odd number is, well, the favorable will be 1, 3, and 5, so there's 3 of those over total, which is 6. So the probability of odd is 1/2, or 50%, or 0.5. The probability of not odd, which would be the complement, right? Well, not odd would be 2, 4, and 6, so there's 3 of those. And as you can see, the probability of an event and its complement is going to be always add up to be 1. So we have 1/2 plus 1/2 is equal to 1. And that's going to be it for the video. In class tomorrow, we'll practice doing some theoretical probability. Thanks for watching.